Hi guys, okay, welcome back to our Zoom session live session. Okay, Zoom live session 5. All right, so got confused with the Zoom, all right, the number of times we have done the Zoom sessions. So this is the 5th Zoom session, and we are going to look at the grouping method. All right, now the grouping method is actually a very easy method to understand. However, this method is very commonly used in many problems. All right, you can find that many problems actually can use grouping method. Right, so there's a lot of categories, a lot of different types of problems that we can actually think of grouping. So even though the method is very easy to use, it's a minor heuristics, but it can be used to solve many problems. So it's like a David versus Goliath. Like David is the grouping method is like David, and the Goliath is there are so many questions out there that can be solved by grouping. All right, so how do we exactly use grouping method? So the whole idea is to make one group. Okay, you have to make one group, then you can find how many groups there are later. So once you know there are how many groups, then you use that to solve the problem. So let's look at one simple one. Let's look at a primary 4 problem. And usually when we see pictures like this, okay, pictures like this, most of the time is grouping method. All right, so when we come to the primary 4, primary 5, and primary 6 level, so how do we go through the process of using this method? Now, the process of doing this method, right, is actually quite simple. In primary 3, we will draw pictures, all right, to show the different groups because the primary 3 students, they are still unable to think abstract. So we have to draw, draw pictures for them to see clearly. But when it comes to primary 4, 5, and 6, we don't really have to draw pictures because if you draw pictures, there'll be a lot of things to draw. So we don't want to draw so many pictures. So we are going to do something which is easier, okay? Something that don't require us to draw any pictures. All right, so this is how we go through the process of using the grouping method. A shop is giving away 2 packets of wet wipes free for every 15 packets. So there is a clue here that we can consider when we want to think about whether can we use this method. So the clue is every 15 packets of orange juice. All right, that's a clue. One group is 15 packets. The shop is giving away 2 free packets of wet wipes for every 15 packets of orange juice purchased. And Mrs. Ong bought orange juice from the shop, and she received 12 packets of wet wipes free. So you will need to find how many groups are there in these 12 packets of wet wipes. So how many packets of orange juice did she buy? Okay, so we don't want to draw pictures, all right? So we are going to do something a little different. We are going to make one group. Okay, one group. All right, so this is the process of using the method. So you make one group and you have to label. So what do we label? Okay, we are going to label packets of orange juice. So how many packets of orange juice are there in one group, which is 15. And how many free wet wipes? There'll be 2 packets of free wet wipes. So let me just put down the word free. So you have to label. And the total, so there's a total. So usually when you make one group, there's a total items, all right, total number of things in the one group. So they are all together 17, right? 17 items in one group. Okay, now then your job is to find how many groups are there if she received 12 packets of wet wipes free, right? There are 12 packets. So this is the whole idea of grouping method. To find how many groups, you must go back to one group and look for the same kind. So if you want to know how many groups make up the number of packets of wet wipes, then you have to go to the same kind, which is wet wipes. And where are the wet wipes? Which is over here, which is one group. There are 2 free wet wipes. So you take 12 and you divide by 2, and you will get 6 groups. Okay, because one group, there are 2 free packets of wet wipes. So if I have 12 packets of wet wipes, then 12 divided by 2, and I will get 6 groups. Okay, and this is a very important number because once you know there are how many groups already, you can use that to solve the problem. So how many packets of orange juice did she purchase? Then you go back to one group again and look for the same kind. Look for what the question is asking you, which is how many packets of orange juice, right? So one group, there are 15 packets of orange juice. So you have 6 groups, so 6 times 15 packets each. And there will be 90, right? 90 packets of orange juice. So she must have bought 90, okay, 90 packets of orange juice. And that's how you solve the problem without having to draw a lot of pictures. All right, so this is the whole process. This is the whole idea of grouping method, which is a very simple method to use. But it can be used to solve quite a lot of questions, right? Of course, we don't we don't solve any kind of question. The questions must have certain features, certain clues, and then we can use grouping, right? We don't use grouping for every question, but I must say that there are many questions that we can use. We can solve it with grouping method. Okay, let's go to the next one, and you will see there's a Primify problem, and it gets a little harder, but the pictures still look like quite similar, like 3 pairs for $5, 2 oranges for $3. So when you see something like that, more or less, we are going to use grouping. So at the fruit shop, pears were sold in packets of 3 for $5. Oranges were sold in packets of 2 for $3. And Malik bought 3 times as many pears as oranges. And that is what you will do when you draw a model, right? 3 boxes of pears and 1 box of oranges. He paid $221 for all the fruits. So how many fruits did he buy altogether? And how much more did he spend on pears than oranges? Okay, now, to use grouping, you must be able to make one group. You must know how to make one group, because if you are unable to make one group, or you don't know how to make one group, then you can't use the method. So you will need to know what is inside your one group, right? Okay, so you can see that Malik bought 3 times as many pears as oranges. So which means that one group, okay, there must be how many pairs in one group? So let me label, there must be 3, right? 3 times of pairs, right? And then oranges must be how many? Oranges must be 1, okay, 1 pair. And the total must be, total fruits in one group must be 4, right? 4. Okay, yep. Okay, now, this question is a little more indirect, right? It's a bit indirect because you can see that pears were sold in packets of 3, right? Packets of 3 for $5. Oranges were sold in packets of 2 for $3. So which means that can you see that if one group there are 3 pairs, right? 3 pairs, right? 3 pairs, and one group there's 1 orange, then how much is 3 pairs? Can we find how much is 3 pairs? Which is $5 already, right? 3 pairs is $5. Okay, so let's put down 3 pairs is $5, and how much is 1 orange? So that will be, you can take $3 divided by 2, right? $3 divided by 2, and you use a calculator, that will be $3 divided by 2, that will be $1.50. And then what's the total? What's the total cost? Now the total cost will be $6.50, right? The total cost for one group. So one group of 3 pairs and 1 orange, right? That will be, total will be $6.50. So you make one group. Okay, one group, how many pairs, how many oranges, how much is the pairs, how much is the oranges? So this is your complete one group. Okay, then you look, he paid $221 for all the fruits. Okay, so which means that, what do you do? Which means that you have to take 221, which is all the money that he paid. And then you have to what? You have to go back to the same kind and look for the total money. How much is the total money for one group? So if he buys one group, then what is the total money he paid, which is $6.50. So you take $221, which is, we don't know how many groups, and you divide, okay, divide by one group is $6.50. And what do you get? So hopefully we don't get a funny decimal. 221 divided by $6.50, you get 34 groups. Okay, 34 groups. Yeah, and that is a very important number, because if you have 34 groups, right, 34 groups, then what happened? You can use that to solve the problem already. So how many fruits did he buy altogether? Then you go back to one group and look for the same kind, right? So what is the same kind? So if you look at one group, what is the total number of fruits, which is over here? That is the total number of fruits in one group. So what do you do? So you have to take 34 groups, okay, 34 groups, and one group there is a total of 4 fruits. So 34 times 4, and you will get how many? 34 times 4, there are altogether 136 fruits that he has bought. And that's your part A. Yeah, see? So once you get how many groups, all right, which is the purpose of grouping method, you can actually use the number of groups to solve many kinds, to solve anything, right? Whatever the question asks you to solve, you can actually solve it. Like for example, part B, how much more did he spend on pears than oranges? then you go back to one group and look for the same kind. So you go back to one group and what do you see? Can you find how much more he spent on the pears than the oranges? So you always go back to one group and look for the same kind. All right, same kind of things that the question asks you to find. So you take $5 and you minus $1.50. So how much more is all the pears than the oranges? So that will be $3.50 more, which is one group. So one group, all the pears cost $3.50 more than the oranges. And I have 34 groups. So what do? I just times $3.50. And that will give me how much more he spent on all the pears. So 34 times $3.50. Okay, 34 times 3.50. And he must have spent $119 more on all the pears than oranges. So grouping method. All right, so this is how we do grouping, right, for the upper levels. So we have to write out one group neatly, right, with all the labels. One group got this and this and this. And then after that, we find how many groups there are. And then once we know how many groups there are, we use that to work out whatever the question wants us to find. So you can see it's very straightforward. It's a very simple method to learn, right? But that can be used to solve many kinds of problems, ratio, fractions, whatever questions they are mixed topic, right? We can also use grouping for them, right? It's very this method is actually very common, right? Very commonly used for many problems. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So how do we know when to use grouping? Now, how do we know? So the question for many students is, when do I know when do I use grouping? You can use grouping, or grouping method is considered when you look at the problem and you are able to make one group. Okay, one group got how many and how many inside, and then there is a total or something like that for you to find how many groups, which is to divide to get how many groups. So when you have that total, like what is that total? Like he spent this total money, right? So when you have this total money, then, and you also can make one group with this and this and this, and then you divide, you can find how many groups. That is how you know you can use grouping method, because you have all these clues inside the problem. And also grouping method is confused with assumption. Some students will tell me, I can do assumption for this kind of question. But if you remember the earlier lesson, when do you do assumption? You do assumption when you have the total number of items to assume, right? And you also need another total. So in this question, there is only one total, which is the total money. But do you have the total fruits, total number of fruits? You don't have, so we can't do assumption. So it's very clear. It's very easy to recognize when do I use assumption, when do I not use. In all these questions that you will see later, we can't do assumption because there's no total number for us to assume. So we have to think of other methods. All right, so let's look at another question, which is a little harder now, but there's a fraction there. So again, students will look at this and think of assumption. But if you read the question, you will find that something is missing that you need for assumption. So there's something missing, which is the total number of parcels that you need to assume. So let's read the question and then let's understand the problem. A courier service company charged $11 for the delivery of one big parcel. So it's quite similar to assumption, because they need to know how much is one big parcel and how much is one small parcel, which is $6. So you need that for assumption, yes. And last month, the company received the total money, and you need that for assumption as well. You need the total money. And the big parcel delivered was 3/8 of the small parcel delivered. But you find that to do assumption, you must have the total number of parcel to assume. So in this problem, you do not have the total number of parcel. So therefore, we cannot do assumption. So that's how you understand when and when not to use. Okay, so if you can't do assumption, then you think of the other method, which is grouping, right? Grouping. So assumption and grouping is quite, they come like, they are together. No, if I can't do assumption, then how about grouping? So can I make one group from this question? So how do I make one group from this question? Then you must understand your fraction. There is the big parcel was 3/8, the number of small parcel. So there is an arrow pointing, which means that there are 3 units of big parcel and there are 8 units of small parcel. And I can make one group. One group, how do I make one group? So again, you start with the same, right? The same process. You write down one group, how many inside, and you need to label. So the big parcel, how many big parcels are there? So there are 3. Okay, 3 big parcel. And how many small parcels are there? So you label, and there are 8. Okay, 8 small parcels. And how many parcels altogether, which is total 11. So there's a total of 11 parcels altogether. Okay, now this group that you have made is incomplete because in this problem you have money, right? It's talking about money also. So you will need to know how much is 3 big parcel. So you need to complete your grouping, right? So 3 big parcel will be $11 times 3. That will be $33, right? And then 1 small parcel will be $6. So you have 8 times 6, which is $48. Okay, $48. And how much is one group? Then you take 33 plus 48, and you get $81, which is how much is one group. Okay, so you make one group. So you have one group, this and this and this and this. All right, so this is how the process, all right, when you use the grouping method. Okay, then you must have a total money, right? In order to know how many groups there are, there must be a total somewhere for you to know how many groups inside. So this is the total money. So how many groups inside this total money? Then you need to go to one group and look for the total. But which is the correct total? Not the total number of parcel, that is the wrong total. You are supposed to look at this one, the total money, which is one group. So you take $12,636 and divide by one group is $81. And that will give you how many groups already. So 12636, and you divide by $81, and you get 156 groups. And this is a very important, right? An important number that you need to use to solve all kinds of questions, all kinds, whatever that the question asks you to find. That is the important number that you will need to use. Like for example, how many small parcels did the company deliver? So you will have to go back to one group and look for the same kind. So this is the whole idea about grouping. You want to find how many groups, you go to the same type, the same kind of what the question, go to one group and look for the same kind of things that the question is asking you. Like the question asks you how many small parcels, then you go to one group and look for the same. All right, how many small parcels are there in one group, which is 8 of them. So I will take 156 groups, and I times 8 to get how many small parcels. And I will have 1,248 small parcels. Okay, and then how about part B? Which seems to be a bit hard, but it's still the same. You want to find the difference in the money received from the delivery of big and small parcel. Okay, there are some missing words, big and small parcels. Okay, so how do you find the difference between the big and the small parcels? You go back to one group again, and you find the difference between the big parcel and the small parcel. So what's the difference between the big and the small parcel? You take $48, and you minus $33 to get the difference. So one group, what is the difference? 48 minus 33, the difference is $15. Okay, difference, that's one group. So one group, there is a difference of $15. I have 156 groups, so I just have to multiply by $15 to find out the actual difference. What is the correct difference from all the big and the small parcels? So 156 times $15, and the difference is $2,340. And that's how you use grouping. Okay, so you can see that the method is very simple to use. I call it the minor heuristics, but it can be used to solve, well, it can be used to solve a big category of questions, like not like assumption. Assumption is also quite easy to learn, but the assumption question is not as broad range. Okay, the questions for assumption is not as broad range as grouping. Grouping has a broad range of questions that you can actually solve it, right, with this method. Okay, all right, let's go to another example. Okay, another one. So you can see it's not that hard to learn the grouping method. Okay, now the next one is not so straightforward. Like when you use grouping method, you find that you must be able to make one group, because if you are not sure how to make one group, then usually we don't use the method. But sometimes, we can still make one group. Okay, sometimes, especially when there is something like, okay, something like this question. Okay, let me just show you. Okay, now this is a Primify question, and some students, they use guess and check, which is not good because it's a lot of time taken. So let's look at this question and see how can we use grouping. Priscilla bought some files and erasers. So I don't know how many files and erasers for $16. She bought 6 more erasers than files. A file costs 80 cents, eraser costs 50 cents. So students will immediately tell me assumption method. Then you think carefully, is there a total number of items? That we don't have a total number of items, right? Neither do we know the total amounts of money. You must have two totals in order to do assumption. But then can I meet one group? Then you look, it's a little hard to meet one group because if you write down one group and there are erasers and there are files, right? So how are you going to meet one group? You have 6 more erasers than files. So it could be 7 and 1. That's one possible combination. It can also be 8 and 2. 8 erasers and 2 files, which is also 6 more erasers. It could also be 9 and 3. So there are many combinations, which is not what we want. Because when you make one group, you must have only one combination, one fixed combination. So you have so many combinations, then we can't do grouping, right? Okay, so how then are we going to use the method if we can't make one group? Okay, this is the trick. Okay, the trick. Now you can see that there are 6 more erasers than files. All right, 6 more erasers than files. So I can draw a simple model to help you to see better. So Priscilla bought some files and erasers. She bought 6 more erasers than files. So let me draw a simple comparison model. And this is the 6 more erasers. And the total money is $16. So be careful that you do not take $16 minus 6 because they are different type. So you can't take the money and minus 6. Okay, and the file costs 80 cents, eraser costs 50 cents. So how am I going to make one group? Now, you can also make one group with equal number, right, which is in the workshop. All right, so there are different ways of making one group, right? Just now you saw one group 3 times as many. You can also make one group with equal number. So in this problem, I can actually cut away the 6 erasers. Cut away the 6 erasers. And then what will happen is I will have equal number of erasers and files. So the trick is what? The trick is to cut away the excess, cut away the how many more. And then you have same number of erasers and same number of files. Okay, so what happened when you cut away the 6 erasers? Then you will cut away how much money? So 6 times 50 cents, you will have cut away $3, right? $3, correct? Okay, so then the model will, how does the model look like after you cut away? So you will have something like this. So the erasers and the files will now be equal number, right? Equal number of erasers and files. So how much is the erasers and files after you cut away the 6 more, right? The 6 more erasers. So you will have cut away $3, which is now 13 because the total money was $16. You cut away $3. So now the new total is $13. And then what do? Then you can make one group. One group with equal number of erasers and files. So this is one of the characteristics of grouping. You can make one group with equal number. So you have 1 erasers, you always start with 1 because that's the smallest number, and 1 file. Okay, 1 eraser, 1 file, and the total items in one group will be 2, right? 2 items in one group. So how much is 1 file and 1 eraser? So 1 file is 80 cents, right? And 1 eraser will be 50 cents. And how much is one group? One group will be $1.30. So you complete your one group, right? One group got this, this, and this. Okay, then you look carefully. How many groups make up $13, right? How many groups are there in $13? So you go back to one group, which is your equal number, right? Equal number of erasers and files, and you look for the total amount. Okay, what's the total amount? So one group, the total money is $1.30. So you take $13 and you divide by $1.30 and you will get 10 groups. Okay, so 13 divided by $1.30 and you get 10 groups. Okay, 10 groups. And again, that's an important number, right? 10 groups. You're going to use that to find a lot of things. So if there are 10 groups, then how many erasers are there? One group, there is 1 eraser. 10 groups will be 10 times 1 inside here, right? 10 erasers. And one group, there's 1 file. So 10 groups, there will be 10 times 1. So you can see there are equal number of erasers and files. So lesson here, we can make one group with equal number. So how to make one group with equal number? Take away the extra, take away the excess, the more than, and then you have equal number already. So then you come back to the earlier model, right? And how many files did Priscilla buy? Which is 10. So Priscilla must have bought 10 files. And how much did she pay for the erasers? So you look at the model, she has bought 16 erasers, right? So you take 16 times 50 cents, right? 16 times 50 cents, that will be how much? So let's work out. So 16 erasers times 50 cents. So she must have bought, she must have spent how much? She must have spent $8 on all the erasers. Yep. And that is how you do grouping. So there's actually quite a it's a very, it takes a short time to learn grouping method, but it takes a long time. It takes a long time to see the many kinds of questions that that can be used to solve grouping. That can use the grouping method to solve, right? And there are still some others. There's still quite a lot of other kinds of questions that's not similar to all these, but we can also use grouping for those kind of questions. Okay, let's look at the last one. Okay, the last one is a PSLE problem. And again, you find that it's not straightforward. Like most students, they wouldn't think of grouping because how to make one group, right? Again, do I do assumption? We don't have the, we can't do assumption because why? Because we don't have the total number of days, right? Total number of days, right? That they have worked all together. So when you want to do an assumption, you must have two totals, right? It's important that you have two totals in order to do assumption, right? If there is only one total, you find that you can't do assumption. Then you must think of something else. So usually I tell my students, if I can't do assumption, then how about grouping, right? Grouping, right? So you run through a list of methods and you think about which method is suitable for which question. Okay, so about this question, so how do we use grouping? Okay, so let's look at this question and let's see. Gopal Henry were paid a total of 3850 for a job. Gopal was paid $2,030 more than Henry. How much was Gopal paid for the job? And Gopal and Henry were paid based on the number of days they worked. Gopal worked 3 times as many days as Henry. So there may be one group, you have three days, Henry 1 day, right? That can be also, that is how you make one group, right? It can be possible. So Gopal was paid $5 more than Henry per day. So how many days did Gopal work? Okay, now I'm going to show you something that is quite interesting. Model drawing, all right? Model drawing model drawing comes together with the group, all the different kinds of methods actually. Like I can actually have assumption model, right? I can do assumption on my model drawing. Even the access and shortage, I can also do assumption. I can also do the access and shortage on my model. I call it the access and shortage model. I can also do grouping on my model. All right, I can also make my model into like a grouping method, right? So the model drawing is actually very flexible, right? You can use model to actually to cover all these different kinds of heuristics, which is possible. It all depends on your creativity. Okay, so let's look at how I use model to teach the grouping method, which is actually quite easy. Now, Gopal and Harry were paid a total of so much money. Gopal was paid more than Henry. So I have a comparison model. And this is the more than, which is $2,030 more. And so you never leave the question blank, even though you look at the question and you find that it looks a little hard. And some students, they look at the question and immediately they give up without realizing that part A was actually very easy. So Gopal was paid $2,030 more, and they were paid a total of $3,850. So you can find part A already. So how much was Gopal paid? You take 3850 and you minus 2,030 and then divide by 2, right? I think this is a primary 4, right? It's like a primary 4 question where for part A. So you take 3850 and cut away 2,030 and then divide by 2, and you will get Henry's money, which is $910. And Gopal's money, you take 910 plus 2,030, and that will give you 2,940. So Gopal was paid $2,940, which is 1 mark. Okay, 1 mark for this question. Okay, so how are we going to use grouping? Yeah, so Gopal and Henry were paid based on the number of days they worked. Gopal worked 3 times as many days. Okay, so you look at my model. I don't know how many days Gopal worked, but I can cut it into 3 groups, right? Because Gopal worked 3 times. So the rectangle for Gopal also represent the number of days that he works. So I cut it into 3 groups, okay, 3 groups, something like that. Or maybe I should cut it a bit more proportionally. Let me cut it a bit more proportionally, 3 groups like this. And then can you find how much is one group of days? How much is one group? So you take 2940 and then you divide by 3. So 2940 divide by 3. So how much is one group? So one group is $980, and this is another group, and this is another group. Okay, now if you still remember earlier on, if you can make equal number, right? Equal number, right? If you can find something that's equal number, you can make one group already. Like for example, if you look at my model, now this is one group, okay, one group or one time, okay, one time. Gopal worked 3 times, okay? Gopal worked 3 times as many days. So if you look at one time, this one time is the same as this one time. Okay, one time, one time. What is one time, one time? It means one time is their equal number. Like Gopal worked 3 times as many days, or Gopal worked 3 days, Henry worked 1 day. So if you take away the 2 days, Gopal has 1 day, Henry has 1 day. Isn't that equal number, right? Equal number of days. So you remove the 2 groups, and Gopal has only 1 group left, right? 1 group left. Henry also got that 1 group left also. So that is equal number inside, equal number of days inside. And we don't know how many days inside one group. So what do we do? Then what do we do? Okay, then we can start to do this. Okay, we can write something like this. One group. Okay, one group. Yeah. So one group, Gopal, 1 day, right? Gopal worked 1 day. Henry also worked 1 day, right? Yeah. So you have equal number. I know how to meet one group with equal number. And then there's a total number of days, which is 2 days in one group. And how much did Gopal earn in 1 day? We don't know, right? But we know that Gopal was paid $5 more. Oh, so one group is $5 more. So what do? I take 980, which is Gopal's money, and then I minus one group, which is Henry's money. So you take 980 and you minus $910, and you will get $70, right? $70 more, which is don't know how many days, right? Okay, so how many groups are there, or how many days are there in this $70 more? So if 1 day, Gopal was paid $5 more. Okay, if one day, if Gopal was paid $5 more, then $70 more will be how many days? 70 divided by 5, that will give you 14. Okay, 14 days. So which means what? Which means that one group is how many days? Which means that one group must be 14 days, right? 14 days, right? That's why we can actually cut away the 2 groups. Gopal has 3 times or 3 groups. We cut away the 2 groups, and then Gopal has 1 group, which is the same number of days as Henry. Henry also has 1 group, right? 1 time, 1 group. 3 times means 3 groups. 1 time is 1 group. So you cut away Gopal, cut away the 2 groups that Gopal has. So Gopal has only 1 group left. So, and Henry also has 1 group, which is the equal number of days inside. And so now we know that if one group has 14 days, then over here, Gopal has 3 groups. So how many days did Gopal work? Then 14 times 3, right? So 14 times 3, and you will get 42 days. So Gopal must have worked 42 days. And that's how you solve this harder problem, which is not so obvious because we don't know how to make one group, right? It's not so simple as like if you look at the earlier questions. Now, if you look at the earlier question, you can see that it's very straightforward to make one group. One group got this, got this, got this. And if you look at number 2, you can see that, okay, if you look at number 2, you can also see that it's easy to make one group. Okay, one group got how many pears, how many oranges, and it's very easy. And then number 3 is a little harder, but it's also not hard to make one group because it's quite obvious, right? You can see the one group is quite easy to make the one group. But when it comes to the next question, it's not so straightforward. You can see that it's not so straightforward. So what happened is you will have to do something. You have to take out the excess, take out the extra, take out the more than, so that you have equal number. So the the point, okay, if you notice carefully, the point is what? The point is if you can make equal number, you can use grouping method already. If you can cut away something and you have equal number, you can use grouping method. So that is the trick to when you can use grouping. That's why grouping is very commonly used for a broad base of question. Because if I can cut away the more than, I can use grouping because I have equal number left. And if you look at the last question, same thing, right? The last question, you can see that it's not clear, it's not very straightforward to make one group. But if I can cut again, Gropa has 3 groups. I cut away the 2 groups, means I remove the 2 groups. I have one group for Gropa and one group for Henry. I also got equal number, right? Equal number. So I can make one group out of this equal number. So you can see that it's actually easy, right? The grouping method is easy to use, right? It doesn't take a long time to master this method, but it can be used to solve a broad range of questions, right? Okay, so we come to the end of this short lesson, but there are more. Okay, there are more things to learn about this grouping method. There's much more, because in the workshop, I will tell you, I will teach you about, I will show you other kinds of problems that can also use grouping method. So right now in this half an hour or 1 hour lesson, I only show you some of them, right? Some of them, but there are other questions, other types of questions that can also use grouping method, but that will be in the workshop. So in this short lesson, I just give you a sample of how we can use grouping to solve this kind of questions. All right, so any questions? Okay, so you can see that I think it's good that that you watch the video. If you do, I mean, if those of them who never come, you watch the video and then understand the method, and then and the more you are aware of the methods, you find that it's a little easier to solve the problem. It means you don't get stuck. You will know how to start your steps or how to start your solving process. Because with your methods, you find that you don't freeze. Okay, you don't freeze. Many students, they freeze because they look at the questions and then they are lost. They are totally lost at what they can do because they lack all these methods. But when you look at any question and you don't know how to do, you need to run through the methods in your mind. And once you choose the method that you want, that's where you can start something already. And then when you start to apply that method, all you have to do is to go through the process, right? Every method, there is a process. Like model drawing, there's a process. You draw from first sentence to the next to the next. For grouping method, there is a process. You have to make one group, this, and then you find how many groups. Assumption method, there is a process. You have to assume all this, okay? So there's a process. So you follow the process, go through the steps that you have learned, and that's how you arrive at the answer. Or even if you don't arrive at the answer, you find that you will get the meta marks. So methods helps you to reduce your time, reduce the time taken to think, and it helps you, it guides you, make it easier, more effective to solve when you go through the process, rather than depending on your own mind to try to solve it on your own. Yep. Okay, so we come to the end of this short lesson. Okay, so is there any questions? Okay, so if there's no question, all right, then what's going to happen is now in the next 2 weeks, the next 2 Fridays, there will be no Zoom live lesson. So what I will do is I may upload. Okay, I may just give a recorded video. I will record myself, record a short lesson on another heuristics, and then I will post it on Friday. But it will not be a live session, right? It will just be a pre-recorded session. So this will be for the next 2 lessons. Because the next 2 Fridays are holidays. So what I will do is I will give you my recorded lessons. Okay. Then after the holidays, we'll come back to Zoom live again. Right? We'll be live again. So then you can ask me whatever you want. All right. So no questions? Yeah. Okay. There's no questions. Then I'll see you in the next live lesson. All right. So goodbye. Enjoy your holidays. Okay. Goodbye.